Program. The station does not guarantee the results of any investments made by a listener to this program.
The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush is sponsored by the Word on Wealth Radio Network.
This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary is a San Diego financial solutions attorney, protecting people like you. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future.
You're live. Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. This is Gary Quackenbush here on the Word on Wealth. So good to have you along. You know, Thursdays, that's one of the best days of the week because Thursday we talk about all things financial. And today, to make it super special, is to talk about financial things and money things. As I have my friend here from yesterday, Ken Pecus, our real estate expert. He's the founder of eXp Realty. If you listened to our show yesterday, you would have kind of been left hanging like, oh, wait a minute, you guys got to keep going. So I was texting Ken. Hey, Ken, I got some questions. We're going to have to do it next week. We're going to move on. And then coming to find out, he was able to come into studio today. So here we are. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thanks, Gary. It's actually great to be where it all happens.
It's fun.
I do have to make one little adjustment on what you just said.
Okay.
As much as I love to have said I'm the founder of eXp Realty, I'm actually the founder of the Pecus Group, brokered by eXp Realty. But I was reading it way too fast. I will take being founder of eXp Realty and whatever that bank account also entails. I'm there.
Okay. So we're just carving Ken a piece out. It's Pecus Realty, Pecus Group at eXp Realty. I'm sorry. And he has a shirt on that says eXp Realty. Those of you that are watching on YouTube or rewatching, you can see Ken in his fancy. It actually says Ken Pecus Group and eXp Realty.
Hey, you got a promo.
Why don't
we go? I promo everywhere I go.
And it's the Odio shirts. Those are awesome.
Oh, these are totally great.
Yeah. So anyway, I have one back there behind me. So Ken's going to get me an eXp Realty shirt. You guys are jealous. So if you want to get a hold of Ken directly, 619-977-8419. If you do it during the show, I'm going to make him not pick it up. He'll pick it up afterwards, 619-977-8419. If you do want to call in, you can ask Ken and I questions right now. It's 888-344-1170. All right. So where we were yesterday, I thought was very interesting. We were talking about parents and grandparents helping kids get into homes. And then you had mentioned, you came, let's see, there were like 3 different ways to do it. And let's see. So it's basically
right. We had ended when we were talking about the potential parent buying the residence while they're in college.
Yeah, I love that. Kid going to college. It would be a situation where the parent or grandparent is basically taking care, like supporting the kid through college, which means they're probably paying for the tuition and or the rent and all that kind of stuff. And then the idea would be they're going to be at college for 2, 3, 4 years anyway. That's always a pretty good turnaround time on real property, where you figured out a way that we were talking about where you could get into real property, have the kid, I said, manage it, make the kid manage it and take care of it. And then they can find roommates. And then it comes out to be financially like the monthly income thing really just kind of goes away because the roommates are paying.
Well, I actually discovered this all by myself during the COVID shutdown, and I don't have children, but I was exposed to this very, very firsthand. And what happened was I have a Airbnb amongst my investment holdings. Oh, and so and then we all know what happened with COVID. Everything shut down. All the Airbnb reservations you had to go cancel. And you're like, whatever, right? So as we got into that first summer of 2020 and things were kind of opening up, but all the universities and everything were still doing online classes, I suddenly got a ding from Airbnb and said, hey, I want to consider renting your place, for the fall, for a month. And I'm like, great. And it turns out to be a student that was going to USD. And then she said, and I have a roommate and I have a few other people that we would want to. And I went through this process and I'm like, trying to figure out how it works. And I'm like, why are you doing this? She goes, well, we just want to be close to campus. We don't have in class, but we want to all be together. So as it turned out,
So wait, so she's going to be doing online education, but still wants the housing close to college to be near her buddies, which she can't quote be by.
and living with her buddies. And so they
Okay.
came out from different parts. I had several
makes
people
sense.
from Arizona, some from Northern California.
Mhm.
And apparently this was actually pretty common during the COVID shutdown, even with all these universities that had online classes.
Right. And that's interesting because I had one of my kids was studying, getting his MBA during that period of time. And it was the only people, like with all the COVID stuff, the only people you could actually be with are your roommates.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So
Okay. So then Ken goes ding, ding, ding.
I'm joking about the ding ding because, with Airbnb, if you have one of those, your phone goes ding every time somebody reserves or something like that, or it hits your bank account. So it's kind of like a little Pavlov dog syndrome.
Yeah.
And so after I got to talking, I was like, well, what kind of rent are they going to want, whatever.
Mhm.
And I said, what did you have in mind? She goes, well, what you're advertising seems fine. And I go, what I'm advertising? Because, my daily rate was $300 a day.
Okay.
And I quickly did the numbers there and I'm like, huh? And so as it turned out, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they had six ladies. They each shared a bedroom, just like the way I did it in college. I was describing yesterday.
Right.
And so we had 6 people, and mom and dad set up the automatic deposits into our Venmo, and $1,700. That's what they were all paying to be on campus housing. And they loved this because they had crazy great independence. They had their own kitchen, living room, dining room, and it was the best thing ever. So it opened my mind to doing this via people for investment.
Interesting. So that is it's I guess necessity is the mother of invention. That's great.
I made better money on my Airbnb that year and a half because we went 3 summers, 3 semesters, than I ever make in off season in terms of it. And it was awesome. They were awesome ladies. They were awesome kids. They were learning. They were quiet. Well, they were quiet to a point, but we gave them leeway on college.
That is very cool. I love that. So then, and that's when you kind of came up with the idea, hey, we could do that for other people, investors. I have a friend that did that up at, it was up in Salt Lake City, bought a condo and went through all that. It was fun. We're going to be talking about more of this right here on the Word on Wealth. You got Ken Pecus. He's my real estate expert on the air with me today. We are co-hosting the show. And Ken he does a good enough job on this thing. I think we're going to have him host by himself once in a while. The nice thing is because this Word on Wealth, we're, talking about, how to take care of money and all that thing. Ken is really good with that, not only with his real estate portfolio, but financial portfolio. So it's good to have an opportunity to be with him live in studio together today. If you do want to call up 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170. Call up, ask Ken a question, and you'll get your answer right back here online. It's pretty easy. It's pretty easy because Noah's going to answer the phone and put you on hold, and then Ken and I are going to take your call. 888-344-1170. All right, coming up next here on the Word on Wealth, I've got some specific questions for Ken prior to sell a house. We'll be right back.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is faith-based investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christian families don't understand this one thing. The money that you're saving for retirement helps fund the abortion industry as well as other liberal anti-family causes. It's the sad, dirty little secret of American investing world. And here's the good news, though. You probably also didn't know that just a few minutes of your time and we'll screen and clean your investments for you. There's no cost, no obligation. Learn the truth about your own investment mix. Then the choice is yours. Remember, the word says when God's money is in the hands of the righteous, the people rejoice. Well, we also are fiduciary investment advisor representatives. That means that our firm makes a pledge to always act in your best interest. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com Download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing, or call me at 931-RETIRED. And please don't forget, listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Talk.
Gary, our listeners are asking about trust disputes and whether or not they'll actually get the inheritance they're expecting.
I think that's a scary thing for most people because they feel like, if I ask my successor trustee, hey, where's my inheritance? You kind of feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being like rude or whatever, inconsiderate. But I'm telling you, if time goes on, if it's been like 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, that's too long to have heard nothing. You're supposed to hear fairly soon, like within a couple of months after someone's passed, you should be hearing from that successor trustee. And if you're not, I think there's an issue we need to address. So it's not like we're going to go screaming in there, filing lawsuits. We kind of use gentle nudges like, hey, do you know what you're doing? Successor trustee, we kind of want to help you do your job, and we help beneficiaries kind of get things straightened out.
Call or click to request your free initial consultation. GQLaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQLaw.com.
Who will you trust with the biggest financial decision of your lifetime? If you're planning to buy or sell a home in San Diego County, do what I do and work with the true San Diego real estate experts. Ken Pecus and the Pecus Group helped me and my family. They can help you. This is Gary Quackenbush of the Word on Wealth. You hear Ken every week here on the Word on Wealth. He's our expert. He's got integrity, exceptional service, deep knowledge of the San Diego, Coronado, and South Bay regions. Okay. These are just some of the reasons that Ken Pecus has completed hundreds of transactions. He manages a powerful team of professionals at the Pecus Group. From single-family attached homes to luxury high-value waterfront properties to apartment buildings, Ken Pecus is ready to help you avoid problems and costly mistakes. Learn more online at kenpecus.com. That's Ken Pecus, Pecus.com. Or call 619-977-8419.
DRE number 010-56969, brokered by eXp Realty.
Trust, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQLaw.com. 855-500.
Happy Thursday. Welcome to Word on Wealth. This is Gary Quackenbush and my co-host,
Ken Pecus.
All right, way to go. And we are in the process of having a conversation, and you are invited along. In fact, you're invited to be part of the conversation. But to do that, you've got to call us at 888-344-1170. And we've been talking about buying properties or helping a kid get into a piece of property, helping a grandchild to get into a piece of property. And, I think just as kind of a follow-up to that, we kind of keep piecing this together, is the reason I like that is because sometimes you have money sitting in an investment and you think, yeah, it's nice to have that money and I could make a little bit more on that. But when you start looking at the numbers, your entire investments and the amount of money that like a kid might need to get into a house, I was really surprised, Ken, at the numbers. Like at the position that I've been in my career for 35 years. I'm getting, I'm 64. It's like, I'm, in that era where I'm not looking to like build because that's kind of my age and my interest and stuff like that. So I look at the amount of like my portfolio compared to my kids, and my kids are going, I want to get into a house, but I'm short $50,000. And I remember when we were buying a house, when Cheryl and I bought a house, we needed another $2,500. That's all we needed because we were that short. But the lender was literally saying, you are short 2,500. And I remember going to, it was either my dad or her dad, and saying, would you please like gift us $2,500 and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember that. And to me, that's what got us into our house. And they could have both said, you know what, do it yourself. I did it myself when I was a young pup or whatever, but they didn't. We borrowed the money, we paid it back right away, but it meant so much to me. And then I look at the numbers now, like if I have a kid that says, it's not going to be 2,500, it's going to be more like I need 50,000. But where I am in life, and a lot of my clients that inherit, I have a lot of clients that, have children and grandchildren, and they've got money in their bank accounts. They've got, 5, 6, 7, 800, $1 million in bank, plus they got real estate holdings. And for them to come up with 50 it's not like chump change, but it's enough to make somebody's life like really happy. So I just love that concept.
Oh, I think it's totally great. I'm literally opened an escrow today I'll keep all the details aside, but the property is being bought by the parents.
Okay.
So that the child can go comfortably to college and experience that. But the place is big enough so that the parents can come and visit and live there and stay there with them.
I like that.
In a very in a comfortable way that they like.
Okay.
So in other words, they're buying. So
they don't have to sleep on the hide bed or the inflatable in the living room. I like that.
They have those. They have the assets, and so if you're sitting on capital that's not being dispersed into some actually active investment portfolio, it just makes so much sense because property, if you go across San Diego, across Southern California, property is always held. And even during those little down cycles, once again, you never sell in a down cycle, which don't happen very often.
Right.
You just keep it. You just keep it. You never lose money if you don't sell.
Yeah.
You never lose money if you don't sell.
Funny. It's a whole, see, this is why we have you on the Word on Wealth, because it's like this, there's this whole different mindset. Because when you talk to a guy that's just, it's all the R's, financial, they're into the market, they move the money, they do this and that, the other, they all have very different opinions. But I that's why I just like having you on. So I want to change the conversation on you. I do that all the time, right?
I like it.
So as the real estate expert of the Word on Wealth, so this is my question to you. I have a lot of clients that parents die, and now the kid they're the successor trustee. Maybe there's multiple beneficiaries, and there's like a rental property, and there's mom and dad's home. And I usually say, okay, it's time to sell mom and dad's home. It's time to sell the rental property. And then there's this whole long conversation that goes on where I think a real estate professional like you should be involved early on. But it's this conversation on, okay, it's mom and dad's house. I'm going to remodel because mom has not redone the carpet in like 40 years. I'm going to recarpet. I'm going to update the kitchen. I'm going to upgrade the cabinets. The bathrooms are embarrassing because they're just so old and all the tile work. And I'm going to just redo this. In fact, I had one client that was saying, and then I'm going to re-stucco the house because that'll make it look nice. Then we're going to re-roof it. And I went, dude. So,
wow, okay.
So talk to us. There's got to be a balance. Like, what is it? What is important about like fixing up a house? Maybe, it's a furnished house, somebody's passed away, and now we're trying to sell the house. Like, what is your thought? I mean, how does that work? What should we be thinking of?
Okay, I think that's a great question because that question hits me and most real estate agents all the time. And so how you answer it is very important. I think the first thing you have to think about is who you're talking to. So there are a lot of people, or a substantial amount of people, that are very emotional through their parents passing. They're very emotional about the property itself. And you have to figure out, are they making an emotional decision, or are they making a decision that is driven by the emotion, but that's not really their goal. So the first thing I do is try to sit down and figure out, so are we looking at trying to maximize the value of the property? Number one. or are we looking at trying to exit this trust as fast as possible
Mhm.
with as little hassle as possible? So is that what you're trying to do?
Right.
Or number three, are you trying to solidify the memory of your parents and your family home so that it feels good to you emotionally after we get this all done? So
okay, you're spot on with all three of those scenarios. Okay.
you have to figure
Excellent.
out, because there's
Yeah.
three
Makes
different
sense.
answers.
Right.
So if it's the latter, where it's emotional, whatever, then
Mm-hmm.
that's when we get into those little questions about mom and dad haven't done this, I want to do this, because
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to present an image that this was their family home, this was their parents' home, and I want to make sure that the
Right.
public sees
That's
this beautiful
exactly.
place.
Okay. Mhm.
And they have to understand that in order to achieve that dream,
Mhm.
they're leaving a lot of money on the table, and they're going to spend money to achieve that dream. Is that their goal? If that's their goal, it's their money, you can decide. But most of the time, and I'll say 98% of the time, when you put it in those terms,
Mhm.
they're like, well, not exactly. I need to take the money because I'm going to buy a house, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to
Right.
give my kids. So you flush
Yeah.
that out that way.
And so interjection from my position as the trust administration attorney, the successor trustee is going through this process, got to fix the house, I've got to do this. And then I go, what does your sister and your brother, what do they say about it? Because they're not the trustees. They don't legally have a say, but ultimately it's going to affect them. What do they say about it? And I think, so I love your conversation with how we doing this, is this emotional thing? And then I always throw in, and then what about the other beneficiaries?
That makes total sense.
You're listening to The Word on Wealth with Ken Pecus and Gary Quackenbush. To call and ask Ken a question right now in the air, you can do that. It's 888-344-1170. Okay, so we got the three scenarios. So we got the first one is, are you just doing this emotionally because it's like, this is mom and dad's house, and I want to present like a good face forward. When the public comes through, they'll be proud to know that was my mom and dad's house, or I will be proud to know that they're marching through my mom and dad's house that's just been totally gutted and remodeled. It looks like it was.
Well, what I try to do is I try to give them
Okay.
a compromise. I try to give them that image, and my suggestions are going to be on where we can maximize that image, but use the least amount of expense that
Yes.
would not be appreciated by the future person that's going to own the property.
Yes.
So then it usually falls down to the other two. I need to get this. I just want to be done, Ken. I just really want to be done.
Yes.
Or I want to maximize. And those things are not necessarily equal.
Okay. And I just want to be done, Ken, could even go as far as the people that say, I don't even care what's in there. I want nothing. I'm turning around. I'm walking this way. Just sell that house, and it's just full of stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I've had one of those, a couple of those, where they just hand me the keys. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, that's cool. Just sign this first so I can do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And then we go forward. So the ones
Okay.
that say, so then what they say, I just want to be done. I ask them the follow-on question. Do you want to be done with exactly what the market value is for the property that's right here? Or do you
Mhm.
want to be done in the most expeditious manner? And you still want to maximize the value.
Okay. I like
Okay.
that one.
So
Yeah.
from there, I understand it.
Okay.
So then when we talk about maximizing value, and this is something I talk with all my clients, I actually came up with this on my own. So if you're out there, if you're a real estate agent and you use this, you better give me credit. So I tell people, I said, you have to
Okay.
just remember something when you're selling your property.
Mhm.
The people with the most imagination pay the least amount of money. The people with the least imagination
Mhm.
pay the most amount of money.
Okay.
Okay.
Now
Let
you're
us sink in.
Okay.
The people with the most imagination will pay the least amount of money. That's because they can see what the property can be. They can see that they can come in and they can put their effort in, they can put their design in, and they can
Okay.
create what they want. But in order to do that, they're putting their effort in. They want a deal. They want the higher deal.
Okay. Right.
The people that don't have imagination, but know what they want, they generally have the money, and they'll go, I'll pay for it if I see what I like. And
Okay.
they'll go in. Why do people pay for the Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons, versus why do people pay for Holiday Inn Express? It all depends on value structure,
No idea.
right? It's two different
Yeah.
different mindsets. It's two different
Yeah.
ideals.
Mhm.
And so
Okay.
they'll pay for it, where if it's all there, I'll take, in fact, this year alone, or in the last 12 months, I've sold at least 4 properties where even the forks were included. everything in the property was included. Knives, forks, you can leave
90 seconds.
you can leave the towels on the thing. They just want it's perfect. Just leave it. Here's the money.
Wow.
Here's the check. Goodbye. That's all they want. And then there's some people that just say
That is literally turnkey.
it is
okay.
turnkey. You're literally just giving the key. And a lot of times it's just
Yeah.
really a code for the door lock. It's not
Yeah,
even a key.
right.
So you have
Turnkey
to think
sounds
that.
better. We have to come up with a different term now.
Well, no.
Just
I
call it
still use
turnkey.
key. I like keys. I like
Okay.
keys. But okay, so that's where
Yeah.
we start that conversation with the people that are going to ask you.
Okay.
And if most of the time people want closer to maximizing its value. So
Mhm.
that's where we take them next into what they should do.
1 minute.
Okay. So it's going to be, we're talking with Ken Pecus. He's partnered with me today as our co-host here on the Word on Wealth. This is a great conversation. I really enjoy this. I mean, in my 35 years being an attorney, I get this constantly, like, what does the real estate professional recommend? What does a client want? You know, as successor trustee, you're thinking, am I going to remodel the house? Am I going to fix it up? Should I just spray some cans of paint somewhere, whatever? And they literally, it's like all over the board. But you can see the way we're doing this with the analysis with Ken is like, it's this thought out process, because we got to figure out what you want to get out of it and why you want to remodel, why, you know, what's the whole purpose. I mean, I always say you're the trustee, you got to maximize value, and you got to do it within the reasonable period of time. And Ken's got some great ideas on how to make that happen. Ken's number is 619-977-8419. You can also go to Ken Pecus. That's Ken, PECUS.com. And coming up next, we are going to talk a little bit more about, we're going to get some specifics on what we need to do to get that house ready. Coming up on the Word on Wealth.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We're here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com. 855-500-TRUST. Or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. gqlaw.com.
You're live.
All right. Hey, you're still there. Fantastic. I appreciate you hanging in for the show. We're going to go right to the top of the hour. So if you want to get your call in to Ken Pecus, founder of the Pecus Group at eXp Realty, the number is 888-344-1170. Now's your chance. California, you guys, it is all about real property, and we have the expert right here in-house to talk about it. Ken Pecus, and his number is 619-977-8419. The number you're going to call right now is 888-344-1170. All right. So we have established now that the important thing about how much you should fix up a house before you sell it. Specifically, I'm asking questions about like inherited property. Mom and dad, uncle, somebody, they passed away. And now you are the successor trustee and you're trying to determine how much money to put into this property to get it ready for sale. What do you have to do? How long is it going to take? And that's what Ken is addressing right now on figuring out exactly what your goal is. Okay, so we're going to get more specific in like our different options. And we have the one where somebody just wants to deck it out and spend too much money, but then you kind of talk them off that ledge. Like, what about if we maximize value for your brothers and sisters who are also watching over this?
Exactly. They might not have the same emotional journey that you're going. And if you're the trustee,
that happens in families. And the thing is, okay, so as a real estate professional, are you also kind of like going, so do you have siblings and how do they feel about this?
all the time, because
Interesting.
You're always looking for the, I don't want to say the hidden shadow client.
You're being
but-
so careful.
But there's a client.
It is public radio, so that was very,
Yeah, it is. It's a shadow client, because
Yes.
whether you're dealing with
Yes.
whether you're
Okay.
dealing with a person whose parents are helping them
Sure.
do that, you know that the shadow client is still the parent. The parent is helping them do it. They're making all the decisions, but you flush it out early on, and you try to figure out, okay, who am I going to have to
Interesting.
satisfy and please
Okay.
in this transaction?
Sure.
Same thing goes with the trustee, because the last
Yeah.
thing in the world, you can set up a great relationship with the trustee. And if the trustee has 3 other siblings behind them with 3 different personalities behind
Yeah.
them, you effectively are working for 4 people, unless that trustee is acting like a Napoleon and taking all the responsibility and not
Right.
listening. But most of the time, they're doing a collective agreement with their siblings.
Mhm.
And so you want to understand the cadence, if anything, of the relationship that's going on between all the siblings.
Like it.
And as a real estate agent, if you satisfy that, if you exceed everybody's expectations and their goals,
Yeah.
then you end up with 4 happy clients, or at least 3 or 2 happy clients
Right.
versus just 1.
Mhm.
And all of our business is done on referral. So it's based on referral.
I
The
like
more
that.
people that are going to refer you, the better. So it's worth your time.
That's very interesting. And I can totally see that, because you're trying to figure out who really is, like, who's calling the shots, who am I, trying to help appease. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, because I've had some experience like that too, where it's like, I don't even know what to do with my siblings. I don't know how to address this issue. It's either siblings, or I deal with clients all the time,
Right.
where I'm trying to calm clients down. Had a recent experience where literally it was my fiduciary that does the accounting, and I'm trying to kind of work through this, and I'm trying to be the one that's trying to talk reason to everybody. And I just was like, okay, there's too many numbers. I need a professional to step in. And it's exactly what happened. Our financial fiduciary that's doing all the numbers said, let me give it a shot. And I thought, how did you do that? He had people like going, oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, totally understand that. I'm going, no, that was my idea. It's like, I've been working so hard, and it was like, that's what it took. But like,
Yeah.
but I can see that with real estate. I mean, it's very similar to that, because real estate is emotional.
It's emotional.
It's emotional, and especially inherited real estate. It's crazy. Everybody has all their different ideas. So having somebody like you, and the reason I'm saying like you, because you've done this for decades. And I
Right.
can't imagine being a new real estate agent thinking, okay, real estate agents are all rich. I'm going to get my license. I'm going to do my online thing. I'm going to get my ticket. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to crush it because I want to own a Lexus. And then you've been in it for a year or so. I don't know. I think you'd be a total jerk, because you wouldn't know anything about what you're talking about, like the emotional side of it and how to deal with it, and who your client, because it's not dollars.
Well, you bring up a really good point. So I have, we've talked about, I have a team and I'm growing my team. I'm growing my business and everything. I have approximately 20 new agents on my team, plus another 15 existing. And with the new agents, one of the things I try to do is I try to get their experience in the past. And so whatever they have been doing in the past, like I do have family therapists. I do have teachers. I have a fireman.
Great.
I have a public relations firm. So what you try to do is as you're training, so it depends on the agent. It depends on the new agent. The new agent may be completely capable of doing it if they have spent enough time to understand what's going on. So a lot of times they don't get that kind of training.
Right.
And so you have to get that kind of training so that you can talk to people, because you have to be able to talk to people. It's communication. You have to be able to talk to people in their own mindset. You can't talk to them in your own mindset, because then you're just talking at them.
Yeah.
You have to get them to be able to express how they're understanding it. And that's a fine art. That's work.
Okay. So if you have now, I'll give you, this is an exact example. Names are changed to protect the guilty.
Okay.
Is mom and dad passed away. There's 4 sisters. We're trying to get this thing sold. I'm sorry, 3 sisters and a brother, and brother's the trustee. And he literally was, looking at it like, I'm Napoleon. You guys just shut up. I'm going to do my job. I am the trustee, the holy trustee. And he spent, so he decided he would do a remodel, but he had a friend that was a contractor and he was a hard worker. So while he's working full time, stuff going on in his family, he was working nights and weekends, trying to help the contractor, trying to save money, trying to do this stuff, and ended up spending about $60,000. This was when the real estate collapsed in 2008. Spent about $60,000, plus his own labor. I mean, a lot of money. And because of contractor issues, whatever, it took about 1.5 years. And in the meantime, the market took a dump. It was awful. So he'd spent $60,000 plus his own time on remodeling this house, and then the house value dropped. So over that 1.5 years, it just tanked.
Wow. Okay.
So my problem was, I was trying to get him to say, who told you to do this remodel? Not to throw anybody under the bus, but I want to know what counsel did you get? Because if it were a real estate professional that said, this is what in my opinion, this needs to be done, he would have been in good shape. Because he's saying, I was relying on professionals. That's my job as a successor trustee, to rely on my professionals. And if my professional says this and this and this, and I say, forget you, I'm going to do my own thing, you as the trustee are going out on a limb that you don't want to be on. If the real estate professional had advised him and said, this is what we need to do, and it didn't quite work out because the market tanked, he would have been okay. Problem was, he wasn't okay. He was more like, sisters, you shut up. I know what I'm doing. And 1.5 years later, market tanks and $60,000 out of the trust. Needless to say, he was on the wrong end of a very expensive lawsuit.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So,
so we don't want to do that. So, okay, guy comes to you and says, here's this thing. If the house is, it's had mom and dad in it for at least the last 30 years, we haven't done much. Where do we go?
I'd say, okay, so here, what I would do is I would do an evaluation of the house. I'd try to find out everything that he knows about the house, just because I just need to know that. And I'd try to find out anything that his siblings, I would ask them. I would say, do your siblings have any other information? Is it okay if I talk to them? Can I just find out a little bit? And about the house. And, they may or may not say yes or no, but most of the time they would say yes. And in the process of getting to talk to the other siblings or either connecting with them, I'm able to then figure out if there's anything else I have to deal with, because they'll tell me stuff on that side about what's going on.
Okay.
And if there's any resentment built up, is whatever. And then I have a package in myself of what I'm dealing with.
Okay. So typically though, you're not going to say, yeah, we should gut it and start over.
Never.
Because the buyers don't want that anyway, because you did it and they don't like the color.
You don't know, and you don't know anything until you know anything. So you have to communicate. It all starts with communication. And then I do believe that getting a property ready, getting a property in its best situation where a future buyer can see their world in it, is going to maximize its value. And that usually means clearing the house out. That usually means neutralizing it a little bit. All of that stuff can be done in like a week or two.
Okay.
It won't change the market.
Interesting. I love the term that you use is neutralizing, because I just, that kind of resonated with me, that we're trying to get, trying to take off the crazy wall colors and the things that made, the owners really like this crazy stuff. You kind of neutralize it, carpet, paint, spruce it up, fix the holes so that somebody can, and your term was they can
see their life in it.
They can see their life in it. I like that. Okay, cool. So then, and then the dollar amount, that's going to really depend on what the property is, right?
Right. And that's probably, maybe let's talk specific dollars.
Yeah.
When we come back.
Okay.
But I can tell you specifically where I think a good money spent and not good money spent.
Excellent. Okay. All right. I told you guys this is going to be a fun show. If you want to re-listen to this, or you're hearing a piece of it and you want to hear the whole thing, you can go to any podcast platform. This show will be up on Google Podcasts within about an hour. It'll be in the iTunes library. It'll be on Spotify, and you'll be able to see Ken Pecus and I if you wanted to go on YouTube and watch it live. All right, we're going to come right back. We're going to get some numbers on what we should do on selling our house right here on the Word on Wealth.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
Gary, how do you and your team help our listeners avoid probate?
Well, first of all, probate is a process that involves attorneys, judges, and sometimes contesting parties. And so we try to avoid probate at pretty much all costs. The way we do that is setting up living trusts, setting up properly documented wills, putting the property like houses, cars, bank accounts in that trust so that it avoids probate. Probate is only necessary if the estate plan isn't set up quite right. So we help them get it set up right. And mainly that's done through a properly created living trust.
Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free initial consultation. That's gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
Hey, we're here on the Word on Wealth. You've got a few minutes to call Ken if you want to talk to him, ask him a question about selling your real property. We're going to go to the top of the hour, so you don't have a lot of time. Call 888-344-1170. Ken, let's get right to some ideas you have. Can you give us some kind of guidelines or ranges? Like, what should you be spending on a certain size house? What do you
Sure.
think?
All right. So when people look at things and you say, what's the number one thing in value? Everybody always says location, location, location. The second part of that location, location, location is when people come up and they see the property and they have that instantaneous momentary look. Do they like it or not?
Okay.
That tells you right away curb appeal means everything to set the stage. So money that people spend on landscaping is probably some of the best money ever. Okay. So if you come up to the property is overgrown, it's whatever, it just doesn't look the part. But he said, don't worry, come on inside. You'll love the floor plan. You're gonna kill part of your value just from that. So the first thing I look at is the property and the curb appeal, and people drive up. It doesn't have to be a stunning mansion or whatever, but absolutely yard should be clipped, weeds should be gone, hedges should be trimmed. And the number one thing I'd say, pink, purple, and red flowers, seasonal flowers. You put them in the side of the house, you put them in hanging pots. This you could spend less than $50 on impatiens or plants like that. There is nothing that draws people's eyes better than that red, purple, pink flowers all over. And when you put it on advertising, when you put it on social media, it gets people's attention immediately. So
Interesting.
So you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at what
My
little
wife
flowers
would love
do.
to hear that, because there's something, she does flowers all the time, and it's pink, purple, and red, and
Pink,
just
purple.
beautiful.
Okay, see,
Beautiful.
she has it naturally. It's exactly it.
That's cool.
All right. Next thing, what people always say, carpeting and painting. It's so inexpensive, and especially if you come in and you got stained carpet and everybody says, well, we didn't want to change the carpet because we knew somebody would pick their own carpeting. We knew somebody would want their own thing. So we want to give them an opportunity. You know what? It's actually worth it to, if let's just say, let's put a price tag on the property. Let's say the property is worth $800,000.
Okay. In
San Diego. It's a nice little 3-bedroom, 2-bath, maybe somewhere in the College area, or maybe in a nice part of Fletcher Hills, or maybe $800,000 or $900,000.
Okay.
And you come in and you see that. Take care of the flooring. If it has hardwood floors and some original ones from like the 1940s or 50s, and you've got the little oak wood planks, get the floors refinished. The floors refinished. The cost of the floors refinished could be maybe, a few thousand, maybe $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000.
Interesting.
Depending upon how much flooring, but the return on that could be 5-10 times the amount because of the way it looks.
Interesting.
Right. And to get the floors done, it only literally takes about a week of work. Right. We've talked about painting. If the walls need to be painted, just you paint them. You paint them we like to go with a light kind of color, nothing dramatic, nothing
Navajo white.
Navajo
Not
white,
that
but
dark.
Swiss. One of my favorite things is Swiss coffee.
Swiss
right?
coffee. Yep.
It's neutral.
Yeah.
And somebody who comes in and who has a colorful eye, who only wants color or whatever, they can see the Swiss coffee, and what they see is beautiful palettes that they can now paint. They see these, see these wonderful, white wall. They go, I can put this here. I can put my artwork. I can do whatever. So you go flooring, you go paint. If you see completely rotting out like windows or something like that, that's worthwhile to change, because that's an indication of something else. You want to look at it. If the entire house is rotting out, well, then you have a different kind of aspect you're going to go. But let's just say you went through the whole house, and the whole house is pretty decent shape, but you do have a couple of windows that are really bad or whatever. It's probably worth your while to change those windows, because they give a different image. So if you're on an $800,000 house and you have a budget of, say, I don't know, $5,000 to $10,000. Let's say you spend $5,000 to $10,000. That $800,000 could very well bring you $875 or $880, depending upon what you did. And in that particular case, that's actually worth it, because if it's let's say it's a multi-sibling estate, right? Let's say there's 3 people, and you guys spend $10,000, but if your agent tells you that, as is, it's going to be this, but if you do this type of stuff, I might be able to top the, higher rates. Well, that could get you each $25,000 to $30,000 more each after you pay the cost.
Sure.
Remember, people over depreciate visually what is sometimes very minor. They'll come in, they'll look at a place and go, I'm not going to offer more than $750 on this place. This place needs so much work, or $725. They just over depreciate it.
Yeah.
And by spending well, I'll give you a perfect example.
Okay.
I have one of those ones where the guy gave me the key.
So over depreciate because they're coming in, and it may literally have taken $15,000 to get this thing looking nice, really presentable, but the people that are walking in going, oh man, this is a dump. It's going to take me $50,000.
Bingo.
Okay. All right.
All right. So just after COVID, 2021,
Mm.
I had a client call me and say, I'm going to be moving to Kansas City, but my house is whatever. So he interviewed several agents and called me in, and I looked at the place. And yeah, it was a challenge.
Yeah.
It was full of stuff, whatever. But I really looked closely, and I'm like,
Yeah.
If you kind of do a little this here and a little that here or whatever,
Mhm.
I could probably do it. So I told him I think the property is worth $1.5 million. Okay, because where it was located, he had the best other agent came in and said the property is worth $1.495 million. That's it. That's your number. I can get it sold tomorrow. Let's get it done. And he was and was pushing really hard. And he called me and he said, you told me that if I did some work, how much do you think you can get? I said, well, if you do a little bit of work, I think I can probably get you $1.65 million, $1.7 million if we make these changes. I said, right now it looks like it's about $1.5 million, just the way people are going to come in. And he goes, how much do I have to do? I said, nothing. You just have to write the check. And he goes, how much? I said, I think 30,000. And I kind of outlined with
Right.
I brought a designer in. I outlined what I thought I could do.
Okay.
He signed with me. We did a listing. And I said, I think I'm going to list it for $1.7 million.
Mhm.
And he goes, really, that much more? And I'm going to give you a $30,000 check. And I go, yeah, so he did. He handed me the keys.
Mhm.
He took what he wanted out of the house. The house was left full. We had 3 weeks with my designer, whatever.
Okay.
We got the play. I shouldn't say we, I just directed and I told whatever.
That's weird.
But the word, exactly. The word,
Yeah.
she did this amazing job.
Mm.
It came out even better. $30,000. We even built a cool deck in the back. We staged it. We did everything.
Yeah.
So much of it was hauling away
Sure.
and painting. You just couldn't see through it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Put it on the market. 9 offers. We closed escrow at $1,950,000. $1,950,000. And I've done that.
So 30 grand will get you 500.
Well, it's just an example. So
Yeah.
I didn't say, I was
Yeah.
like, you have to
Yeah.
think this through. Sometimes you can't spend that little.
Mhm.
You just cannot do it that way. But in
Mhm.
this particular case, if you're really looking at it and if
Yeah.
you really put it, it can really pay off. Let me tell you, he was like thrilled.
Oh yeah. I'll bet.
Thrilled
bet.
on that.
And that's interesting. And I think that takes, so what I've learned from you in the show yesterday and today and the time we spent together and the work you did for me is that it really makes a difference that you can explain what you're doing and you can explain the reasons why and help people understand. You can comprehend their ideas. And I just think, for me, that's kind of like, that's what a good person does, is instead of
Yeah.
saying, just listen. Cause like as an attorney, I cannot stand when somebody says, just trust me. Just trust me. I have my teenagers do that. A teenager does that too. And you go like immediately when somebody says, just trust me, it's like, oh, and you can't explain it away, can you? You're not going to be able to tell me why you're doing what you're doing. And I think as a professional, it really makes a big difference. And it's like, you explain it away, you help them understand it. They feel like they are part of the process. They feel like they're now educated and you have all the reasons. And what I think is really helpful too, is because you explain, and each time there's something that comes up, there's an issue here, there's an issue there, you're always willing to pivot. Okay, we need to pivot here. Are we going to pivot or persevere? Are we going to do this? And I just think that makes a big difference. It's the level of experience. So Ken has my endorsement. He's helped me, he's helped my family, still does. And we just appreciate having him on the show. Appreciate having you here on the show, Ken. It's been awesome. I want to give out your contact information one more time. Easiest way to get a hold of you is it cell phone or text, or email?
Both works. That's the cell phone. And
Okay.
I don't take the calls when I'm in an appointment, obviously.
Okay.
But
619-977-8419, 619-977-8419. And it's even having that conversation like Ken's done for my kids. It's like, hey, what about this idea? What about that concept? The idea is to build relationships. Real estate is a big deal in San Diego, Southern California. It's going to be more money than you've ever spent. It's going to be the biggest investment, but it's going to be the best thing because, man, we're in SoCal. Dude,
the best.
Crazy. It is the best. All right, Ken Pecus, Gary Quackenbush here on the Word on Wealth. We will be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow with Rick Daines. Super interesting story. He has a son, Eli, who is autistic. And Eli rides the little bus to school. They didn't have a little bus driver. So Eli couldn't get to school, and dad got trained to be a school driver.
That's so
And he drives a school bus for Eli. We're going to have him on the air, tell you how Eli reacted. It's super cool. Anyway, that's going to be tomorrow on our Finding Joy Friday. Ken, it's been awesome. Great. Thanks for coming into the studio and getting this done.
Thanks for having
And
me.
have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995. With financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future.
The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual legal needs. The